Read the chat and everything, and let's see how good this goes. Hopefully the OBS doesn't freeze on me or anything like that. I'd be very upset. See everything all good? Yeah. All right. We
There we go. There we go.
All right. Finally, I got this thing fixed up perfectly fine now. So, everyone in the chat, Doge Games, Dragon Axe, Javen, Manny, Rapid Crafter, Roland, Captain Shark.
I see you here.
Everybody in the chat, thank you guys for tuning in. We got ourselves a good conversation to go on. We're going to be discussing about the future of Resident Evil, whether if that involves Resident Evil 4 Remake, Resident Evil 9, or any other projects that might happen in the near future. So, sit back, relax, grab a snack as we can discuss, and feel free to voice your opinions in the comment section as well, or the live chat, since, we love to hear from you guys as well. So, who we have today is Manny, aka Rapid Crafter. Say hello to everyone.
What is up, chat? Hope y'all are doing well tonight.
And War on Horror. Say hello.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's good to be here.
We originally had a fourth member, but unfortunately he may be running late. But if he does tune in, then, we would be more than happy for him to join.
Hopefully MMDVG will be here. Hopefully look forward to that. I hope he's here.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah.
So, War, you had something to say to start off. Oh gosh, dang.
Yeah, and I wish MM actually was here, because we had a good conversation on Twitter earlier today about what we want the next Resident Evil game to look like, and we kind of plotted the whole thing out. It was kind of fun. But I'm not going to talk about RE9 straight away.
Yeah.
What I want to do is actually go back to the very beginning, and I have the Resident Evil timeline pulled up here. So I think Resident Evil, and this is just how I want to characterize and define it. This is not like real technical or industry terminology, but I think Resident Evil, more than almost any other franchise, more than most, can be defined by some actually fairly clearly defined large development cycles, which I would call mega development cycles, but you can call them whatever you want. They're not always neatly defined, but I think they are clear. I've seen other people kind of talk about it, not in the terms I'm going to talk about it, a little more casually. But I think there's been 3 Resident Evil mega development cycles, and I think we're in the third.
Yeah.
And I think we're actually kind of near the end of the third. The first one obviously kicking off at year 0, 1996, with the first Resident Evil game, and ending with Outbreak File number 2. Resident Evil 4 really kicked off big development cycle with the RE, Reach for the Moon engine.
Yo, you might actually have to repeat yourself, because I knew this was going to happen, but OBS bugged out again. So that's very unfortunate.
Damn.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to wait on chat. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I think they can, though, because everything's all good now. I had a feeling, because I heard you cut out, and then all of a sudden I was like, no way OBS is doing this to me.
Okay, I'll start over, but let me know if you guys can hear me now. This is War on Horror.
Yeah, we can hear you.
They can. Okay.
Yeah.
So we lost 2 minutes of my life there. That's okay.
Yeah.
Man, where did I start? As I was saying just a couple of minutes ago, I wish MM was here, because we were actually talking about the future of the franchise a little bit, and what we wanted the next Resident Evil game to look like. That was actually a lot of fun. You should go check that tweet out, and check his Twitter account out as well. But I'm not going to talk about Resident Evil 9 quite yet. I wanted to start kind of all the way back at the beginning with what I kind of call mega development cycles. I think Resident Evil as a franchise, more than most franchises, really can be defined or can be looked at through the lens of these big development cycles, which I would call mega development cycles. That's not an official or industry term. That's just what I want to call it. And within these mega development cycles, I think obviously you have lots of little small game-sized development cycles. So you have the development cycles of individual games. And obviously, this kind of all kicked off at in year 0 with Resident Evil, the very first game in 1996. And that first development cycle lasted all the way up until Resident Evil Outbreak File number 2. At that point, the series was really starting to show its age, and it was kind of getting a little bit stale. And a lot of series at this point would have just died out if it were not for what Shinji Mikami did with Resident Evil 4, which was really very brilliantly and in a way that made a lot of sense, kind of reboot and jumpstart the series all over again with what he called a full model change. And that full model change kicked off a big development cycle of lots of, smaller development cycles that lasted all the way until kind of technically until Umbrella Corps. It released, it lasted until Resident Evil 7 Biohazard was released. And that's the mega development cycle that we're in now. We're in a third big development cycle. So we've had a bunch of remakes in this brand new engine. And no, I don't think the current big development cycle represented as big of a full model change as the last one did, but it was substantial enough that it's definitely its own unique development cycle. So of course we've had 7 and 8, and we've had this remake series of 2, 3, and soon to be 4. So what I kind of want to do in this podcast is kind of set the table for talking about the future of the series, because I'm actually probably more concerned than I think a lot of fans are. Simply put, we really have no idea what's coming after RE4 Remake. RE9 technically hasn't been confirmed. That's just been rumored. Certainly, we don't know anything about RE10. Other concerning things like Rev 3 being, people want that, but it's a ghost right now. It's vaporware.
Exactly.
We don't know if it exists or if it doesn't exist. It could have been canceled, and the likelihood that it has been canceled gets, grows every month we don't hear about it.
Yeah.
Capcom has canceled other things. They canceled the Outrage multiplayer initiative or project. They canceled the Hunt game.
Yep.
And the Resident Evil adaptations that we've seen over the past couple of years haven't even themselves done very well. They've either been critically trashed or they haven't done well financially, or both. So my concern is that Capcom maybe doesn't have anything after RE4 Remake, or at least desire to use established legacy characters, and nothing seemingly on the horizon to, no plans seemingly to use them is concerning. So I think it's true that this series has been in a position of relative strength the last few years, since 2017 to 2019 kicked off a period of strength for the series. But I think my argument for this podcast is that it's in a position of relative weakness soon after Resident Evil 4 Remake, because Resident Evil 4 Remake is the only thing we know of that exists. Even on the adaptation side of things, there's no rumors, there's no leaks, and even RE9 is pure speculation.
Yeah.
So with MM's not here, but for the time being, I'll stop talking and hand it off to you, Manny, and you, Center, and see what you guys think about this. Do you share these same concerns that we might be getting a whole lot of nothing soon, or do you think the series is going to go strong just like it has for the last few years?
You want to go first,
You know
Manny?
You know what's crazy is, like, I'm sitting here thinking, and I like the way you explained it, because I never really thought of it that way. Like, I never thought of looking at the franchise as like big development cycles. I just look at it as like a timeline. Like, this year this game was released here, this year this game was released, yada yada.
Yep.
And so I like the way you described it, because that's true. And like, now that I think of it, I'm not even gonna lie, because usually I'm like at the front lines when it comes to hyping up the franchise. Like, I want to see what's next. I'm high. People don't like RE5, screw it, give us a remake. But then it's like, I like what you said, because I can kind of see that now. Like, the only thing that's confirmed is RE4. We don't know anything about Rev 3. Like you said, the live stuff, we don't know anything about that.
Yep.
And on top of that, like, when you put it that way, that's true. It's like after, because RE7, that was a shot in the dark. That was a shot in the dark, because they did so many new things. Like, it could have flopped, it could have, whatever, but it obviously succeeded. So they continued down that RE engine route. And then you have the RE2, 3, 4 remakes, and you're remaking those because those original games were like masterpieces to a lot of people. A lot of people look at 2, 3, the original 2, 3, and 4 is like, those are the best. But they're quote unquote old to a lot of people, so Capcom remade them. Whereas after 4, it's like, where do we really go from here? Because there's going to be a point where I feel like soon we're going to eventually head down that stale route again.
Right.
Where they're probably going to make, like, I think someone said in chat, like a Resident Evil fighting game. Like, they're just going to start throwing out, random titles.
Yeah, because they did end up dropping Reverse, and we know how that game turned out.
Yeah, because and when Reavers dropped, like you guys heard me, I was hyped. I was like, look, if they really take advantage, and it's like we saw how that turned out, and it's like after RE4, it's like where did they really go? Because you could milk more remakes and do 5, 6 if they want, you know what I mean? But it's like, do people really want that? Like, there's a group of people that want that, but it's like, is that what we really need right now?
Right. And I think,
And same with like the side games, like you said, like Outbreak and whatnot.
yeah.
It's like a lot of people want an Outbreak, but it's like,
Um,
how well would Capcom make it, and then how well would they support it, or how, and how many people
Yeah.
would actually play it, in today's time.
And another thing people want is just simply a port of the classic trilogy. They want a remaster, and that's another thing Capcom's made no move to do, and let's be honest, probably doesn't exist. So it's another sign of weakness that they're not even giving us something like that, something fairly low hanging fruit.
I will add.
Yeah, like super easy.
I'm gonna add to that and say, when Street Fighter 6 ended up getting its reveal after the tournament, they ended up announcing a classic fighting game collection that involved, I believe, Street Fighter Turbo 2, Pocket Fighters, and so many other games. And I was just thinking to myself, why don't they just do this for the first 3 Resident Evil games? And I feel like it would be a really amazing business decision for them to do that, because it would help the young fans and the new ones to play the classics, to know where this franchise started off. And then you can go to the remakes and, you can just relive the Raccoon City era of Resident Evil in the classic games. So I think it's something that I think Capcom should at least consider to do while they are developing whatever games they have planned for Resident Evil. So that's really my take on the classic edition, is just, if they're able to do it with the fighting game collection for Street Fighter and other franchises, why not do it for Resident Evil?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've heard that they really just don't seem to care about the originals. They've put all this focus and all this energy into the remakes, and that seems to be what they care about. Not so much the original stuff, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But going back to the remakes for a second, I don't think there's any compelling arguments to suggest they're going to keep doing it. I mean, and I could be wrong about all this. They come E3, they could announce a bunch of stuff. We could get Remake 5 and or Rev 3, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope my gut is wrong, but it might not be. I don't know where they even go with remakes. I think large part of me thinks Remake 4 needs to be the end of it. And I'm not even convinced we needed Remake 4. I get there's a lot of hype for it now, but a couple of years ago, people were super skeptical about it because it was, does it really need one? But Capcom went ahead and did it anyway. I think it becomes a much tougher proposition for a lot of reasons to ever remake five or 6. I'd be shocked if they ever touch 5 or 6, or it's going to be a decade before they do.
Yeah.
And there's nothing about Code Veronica. They've made no mention of it. There's really no leaks or rumors. So I also wouldn't be surprised if they don't go in that direction. So the question we're really trying to answer here is what do they do after Remake 4? Where do they go? Because there's really nothing on the horizon.
Yeah, because I was shocked when 4 got announced. Like, that was a shocker to me. So, like you said, if they touch 5 or 6 or anything else, even Code Veronica, I'd be like real surprised.
Yeah, it's just, I never thought that 4 was gonna get a remake. Like, if we're just comparing to the games such as Resident Evil 0, Code Veronica, the Outbreak series, even, some side games like Deadly Silence or Gun Survivor or whatever the case may be, I'm just really shocked by that. But then again, we do have to put into... I rambled on for about a full minute.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
I gotta figure this stuff out, man. I gotta switch to stream elements, I know that for sure. But as I was saying, I think they need to consider remaking the classic games more after Resident Evil 4, because if we know that they're remaking 5, we know they're in it for the money. 5 is their most sold game of all time in the Resident Evil series. Most of that was because of the co-op feature. 6 was also in that conversation. So... Yeah. They
I
might
believe
consider
Remake 2 sorry, not to interrupt you. Remake 2 I think is the best selling Resident Evil game at this point. 5 was for the longest time though.
Yeah, but also I wanted to give a shout out to Pulp for this $8 donation. Thank you, I very very much appreciate that. He says, I think after 9 they'll take a break from the main saga and focus on more spin-off and single entry stories. I really don't want remakes of 1, 5, or 6. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Kind of got to agree.
Yeah,
I
can
don't
see
think
that.
I don't think we need remakes of 5 or 6. Definitely, I think those games need to be remastered in 4K certainly,
Yeah.
and have some bugs cleaned up. Remake 1, I know some people want it. To remake it again, seems, I don't know. Remaking a game a second time seems like a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
like
I don't
repetitive
think
in
we
a
need to
way.
do it.
I feel like I played remake one so many times. It's like, I mean, I've said before, like before 4 remake was announced, I would rather have 1 over 4. But
Yeah.
then again, it's
I
like 1's
agree.
kind of like 4 for me. Like it's not necessary. I feel like I can play the first one. You know, I feel like the majority that want to see a remake 1, like a new remake, are like the people that don't like the tank style controls. Like they want the modern. But like I can see that. Like I'd be cool with it, but it's like it's not necessary.
Yeah. And
No, I think they want that first person experience with it. It'd be cool. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to complain if we get it, but
yeah. But for my take on the RE1, another remake type of thing, and I know a lot of people say that this is like the perfect Resident Evil game and don't even try to touch it, and I 100% understand that. But if remaking one again, does it really damage what the GameCube version or remaster of the game did, like back then? I don't think it really damages it, because I think the legacy for that game is already cemented as one of, if not the best RE game ever. So,
yeah.
I'm just thinking, like, think about the RE engine with the Spencer Mansion, Yawn, Neptune, the Crimson Heads, the Hunters, Lisa Trevor, everybody that, like Chris, a younger version of him, Wesker, Barry. It's something that I would just love to see in this engine. And if they are going to continue on to remaking these games, then it's going to get to the point where it's honestly inevitable for one to get another remake, because it's going to be a really good seller, without a doubt. And just thinking about it is just, I don't see the problem with it. I get that there's a lot of old fans that like don't want it touched, but I mean, we were kind of like thinking to ourselves, like, how was 2 remake gonna turn out though? I mean, it definitely needed a remake compared to like 1 easily, but yeah, I'm just rambling now.
No, I agree with that though. Like I can see the potential, especially when you put it that way. It's like imagine all the concepts and like the actual modern engine.
Yeah.
Like come on, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, it would be cool.
And I also think another thing I mentioned in my video about like 6 months ago talking about that, I think one remake, if it does happen, I think it should be the first game that should implement, well, naturally, not like updated later on into like, add like the vanilla base game, to be having a first person and third person's feature.
Yeah.
Because I think RE7 was the perfect environment for the first person camera, and the Spencer Mansion is very similar to it, so I think first person would be amazing, and the third person as well would be awesome as well. So I don't know if they will ever remake it though, but I think if there was a good time to do it, I would probably expect it to be around maybe the 30th anniversary of the Resident Evil franchise.
When's that? 2026.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, I think 1, 5, and 6, touching those is maybe a bit of a stretch. I think the only thing after 4 that really needs touching is Code Veronica.
Yeah, 100%.
I hope they do something with it. We just haven't heard anything, and then there's every chance, this being Capcom, that they won't do that.
Yeah.
But who knows? I mean, a lot of people wanted Remake 2 and 3, and if enough people are vocal about something like Code Veronica, there's a good chance they'll tackle it at some point.
Yeah. So you guys want to get into the list of topics that we jotted down?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm down.
Good jumping off point. Yep.
All right, hold on a second. So the first topic is, well, it's simple. What are your expectations for Resident Evil 4 Remake?
Whew, I was thinking about this the other day.
You can kick this one off.
Me or Center?
You.
So I don't think I've ever been more nervous about a game ever, which is kind of weird. Because I mean, Resident Evil 4 is like, it's my favorite Resident Evil game, and it's my third favorite game of all time. So I think my expectations were that, I was thinking about this yesterday. I think when it's going to be good, it's going to be good, and it's going to fly high. But any little thing that gets messed up, it's gonna go right to zero. It's gonna suck if they remove anything that's iconic. I mean, I don't even want to speculate as to what that might be. But if they get it right, if they can really recapture in this new engine some of these really iconic moments, I think it's gonna be a blast. I really just hope that the kind of the spirit or the soul of the original doesn't get lost. Some of the presentation aspects I'm not thrilled about. I think some of the character models and the voices still feel a little wonky, but I'm super nervous about it. I'm kind of excited, and yeah, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see.
Manny, your thoughts now?
So originally, before or when it was first, or no, I think it was before it was announced. I always said if we ever got a remake, I want a 1-to-1. Like, don't touch my precious Resident Evil 4. Like, leave it alone. If you're gonna touch it, give it the Dead Space remake treatment. All right, update the graphics, the audio design. Don't touch anything. The game comes out, I give it some time. So currently, at this very moment, I have a very controversial perspective on it. But the way I'm expecting this remake to be is basically what Resident Evil 4 would have been if it was given to a much like darker creative vision,
and also a more thought out story.
Yeah, like because you know, the original RE4, like, you know, people call it a masterpiece, I call it a masterpiece, but there was a lot that could have been better. Like, the biggest thing for me that I feel like a lot of people don't talk about, personally, I thought the castle section was way too long. Like, I thought it was just like, it had a lot of good concepts, but there were so many, like, there's things like that where it's like it was good, but I could see it being improved in a remake.
Yeah.
But like, you know, horror said, it's like some of the voice acting, it's like, you know, we'll just have to see how it plays in action.
Yeah.
Really wish they had tried to shoot closer to the original. I think Dead Space is a really good example that seems to have done everything right in terms of a 1-to-1 remake, while still being somewhat innovative and updating it and making it fresh for, you know, the 2020s.
Yeah.
I don't see Remake 4 quite doing that. I think it's definitely going to go off into left field a little bit more, which of course, as a diehard RE4 fan, I wish it wasn't doing. I wish it was getting the RE1 remake treatment, but at the end of the day, I think Capcom likes doing that. They like re-envisioning and reimagining like character models and stuff like that, and seeing what they can come up with. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see how it plays.
Yeah, because my top expectation is they're gonna change a lot. Like, we know, I hope it's for the better. I hope, like, my main thing is I hope they take every major good concept in the original and enhance it, not take like a big section or a big concept and then completely ruin it. That's what I don't want. But the biggest expectation I have is, because by the trailers and what we've seen, it seems like they're stepping more in a because it's been confirmed that, you know, a lot of the iconic voice lines are back, a lot of the campiness is still kind of there, at least. But, you know, by the trailers, it seems like they're tapping a lot more into the psychological, the horror side of what RE4 would have been, because it's been said that they're taking, you know, it was confirmed that they're taking concepts from the beta versions, like the old castle, you know, from the old versions. So I'm hoping, knowing Capcom, they don't like if you're gonna turn RE4 into more of a horror game, like, you know, darker, scarier, don't just tread on thin ice. Like, actually go full on in, like fully commit to the scariness, the, you know, the darkness, while also maintaining, you know, because you can make a really dark horror game, you know, Resident Evil 4 game, but, you know, keep the one-liners. Like, you can sprinkle them in there, you can keep them in there and have them strategically, you know, placed. Unlike, you know, because in RE3, it's like the line that Jill says, "You want stars? I'll give you stars." Like, that felt, it was like fan service, but it felt forced because it was so random.
Right.
Like, it was right in the middle of a chase sequence, you know, like,
it probably.
And I don't want the.
Yeah, I probably should have updated OBS.
Welcome back.
All right. So again, chat. Be sure to get used to the disconnections, and hopefully, you know, Manny and Ward can get used to that. Hopefully, Mark gets used to it whenever he joins this. But as I was saying about like that RE3, like the stars line, I feel like they honestly should have said that when she was on the verge of officially killing Nemesis compared to like being chased down. Instead of saying, you know, saying that I'll give you stars while you're running away from him is kind of like, you know, weird comparing to the original. But I get what you're trying to say there.
Yeah, because like in the remake, like Horror said, it's like keep a lot of the iconic lines. Like anything to me, iconic. The way I define iconic is anything you can think of off the top of your head that just like really stands out to you.
Yeah.
Like when you think RE4 lines, like at least to me, the first one is the bingo line.
Yeah.
And it's already been confirmed that's in the game. Thank God.
Yeah.
Because if that wasn't in the game's getting a 0 out of 10. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
It's not that bad.
Yeah.
But it's like in the remake, I don't want them to take like the bingo line, and then let's say at the end when Ada escapes, you know, Leon's like, "Where's everyone?" It's like, you know, it's just because it's in the game doesn't mean it's like, oh, I can, you know, I'm happy now. It's like, no, it needs to be strategically placed where it makes sense. But at the same time, it's like fan service where it's like, even if it's a reference, like RE fans will catch on. Like, you know, we'll see references and get hyped, like, oh my god, that, you know.
Yeah,
So
I think the tricky thing is that RE4 just had so many iconic moments to the point where just about everything, in my opinion, was iconic. So, and I'm skeptical Capcom's going to throw it all in.
Even down to like this is rare, but even for me, the gun sounds. I love the gun sounds in the original game.
Yeah.
I even criticized the gameplay when it was first revealed. I was like, you know, is it just me or does a shotgun sound weak? Like it's like pew, pew. Whereas in the original it's like and I'm like that's the type, and it's like I wasn't expecting that sound to translate over, but it's like things like that are iconic. Like you say the word striker and I automatically in my head can just hear the striker going off in the shotgun, or like the TMP and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's just
it's definitely become a little more popular to clown on RE4, especially the remake has been revealed, but people forget how well produced this game was for 2005. I mean, there really wasn't much else out like it in early 2005. This was like the best produced thing out there, and it certainly was a complete overhaul for Resident Evil at the time. So a lot of those presentational aspects are just so ingrained into our memories, and they're so iconic.
Yeah.
Hopefully Capcom doesn't mishandle it, but
I'm glad you mentioned that because that's true. Like RE4 at the time, like I would argue is factual. It really was ahead of its time, especially for it was on the GameCube. Like the GameCube, it was powerful, but not, you know, current technology. Like it's crazy like what they were, you know, able to achieve on that.
yeah.
So the way I look at the remake is I'm not expecting it to be, you know, 20 years ahead, you know, type of game, but it's like I am expecting because the original was ahead of its time. This remake needs to also be like ahead of its time. Like it needs to set, it can't just be like, oh, here's a remake of what you love. It needs to be like, okay, here's a completely new foundation for how future remakes should be. Like that's the standard I'm looking for. Like something groundbreaking. Like I don't just want to play and be like, oh, you know, that was a cool modern 2023 adaptation. I want to like play it and be blown away. Like, whoa, like this was, you know, like this is legendary. Like this is something I'm going to talk about, you know, with my friends for years.
Yeah,
exactly.
Unlike Village, because I feel like, was it just, I think Center, I think you mentioned this, was it just me, or when Village came out, I swear after like a few months, like people just stopped talking about it.
Yeah, that's why
I mean,
that's why when I ended up saying in my review video, I said that it was actually starting to become an underrated game because it was hyped for about 1 month and then all of a sudden it started to just completely fall flat. Maybe some of the RE4 remake rumors were the main responsibility because of that, because when you hear 4 is getting a remake, everyone is going to lock their eyes onto that stuff. And I think Village, it wasn't really a bad game. It was really good in my opinion. I mean, I had it in my top 5 for a while, but then I just realized like, okay, maybe I might just move it down to the 6th spot, but I feel like it was definitely not talked about like enough really. But now, after 4 remake, I think the talk of not just I'm just lost right now, but I think the talk for the Village ending will start to spike up more after RE4 remake is officially like done.
Yeah, people are going to want to know what the next step for the franchise is, and I'm just concerned because we don't know anything. We're in the dark.
And you guys want to move on to that next topic now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
All right. And speaking of that, who should headline Resident Evil 9?
Let Manny take this one.
Oh man.
Such a loaded question too.
I don't ride the bandwagon ever. All right.
Yeah.
That's important for me to say. I don't ride the bandwagon in anything in life. But I am gonna say I think Jill needs to be the main protagonist.
Yeah.
But not just Jill, like this is a little, I'm not gonna go too much into it because we'll probably mention a little bit more later, but it's like I need 9 to feel, not like to be the last main Resident Evil game, but I need it to feel like a conclusion to something. Like it needs to, because it feels like every Resident Evil game, or like at least recently, like most of them end on like a cliffhanger, or like it's gonna lead to something.
Yeah.
And then
stinger,
it just goes nowhere. So it's like 9 needs to like conclude maybe like a character, maybe bring it, like we don't need new, I mean, we've seen Ethan, we've seen like, that's what 7 and 8 were for. Like we need to start going back to like the older characters, because I mean, they're getting old, man. Like you can't, we can't have Resident Evil 20 and you bring back Leon. Like they need to start either wrapping up something or at least going towards some sort of conclusion to something.
Yeah.
I've always said I want RE9 to feel like an apocalypse game. I mean, ironic because that was the rumored name, but
yeah.
It needs to feel like an apocalypse, like there's more stakes, like it's the end of the world type, like it needs to go in that type of direction.
RE6 did kind of do that, but it came off as feeling like a Michael Bay film, and it was very goofy and over the top.
Yeah.
So I guess the dramatic weight wasn't there like it could have been, but it would be interesting to see what they could do with something that's a little more serious and grounded.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I think, it's obvious Jill's got to come back. It's kind of ridiculous. It's been it'll be 14 years in March since she was last seen in the timeline. I know she was mentioned in Rev 2, but that was, she wasn't obviously in Rev 2.
Yeah.
There's a couple of paths Capcom can take. They can either bring back a legacy character, which I think is definitely going to be a crowd pleaser, or they can, then there's bad decisions. They can bring back Ethan, which I think would be a mistake at this point, or they can do another brand new blank slate character, which I think people are kind of sick of at this point. I know some people like to say, well, who cares about the characters as long as the game is good? And it's like, yeah, but people do care about the characters. A lot of people and a lot of fans do care about the characters, and it is a big deal for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I sympathize with people who were disappointed that Ethan was in 2 major games, and we got a little bit of Chris in there, but that's been it. I think it'd be the only mistake they can make with bringing back a legacy character is to give Chris his own game. We don't need another RE5. I think Chris should be a side character at this point. So I vote for either Jill or Leon.
All right, so for my take, I think 100% it has to be Jill, because I'm going to bring up some 2009 world events that was going on since the last time Jill Valentine appeared in a game. For the sports heads, in 2009, Kobe Bryant won his 4th NBA championship. LeBron James was still a Cleveland Cavalier in his first tenure. Barack Obama was in his 2nd year of his first term as President of the United States. And I think the majority of us were still in elementary school. That's how long it has been since Jill has been in a Resident Evil game.
That's crazy to think about.
It's just really odd to me. Like, I understand that you wanted to bring horror back with Resident Evil 7, with on how poorly received RE6 was. And one of the only ways that you could have done that was to start with a brand new character, and Ethan did that because he was green in combat compared to the main 4 that just know how to spin, kick, and boulder punch their way through zombies and shit. And I think they did a really good job of that, but I am going to say it right now, they did the smartest decision to make the Village DLC about Rose Winters and to just cap that off. Because if they didn't do that, we probably were thinking that Resident Evil 9 was going to be about Rose. But to know that her story is pretty much almost done, and if they're going to still stick with that BSA plot, if it's specifically about Chris going over there, Jill needs to have a key role. 100%. But in terms of what role would Chris have into this, I just want to see him take a back seat. Another fact I want to tell you guys about. I explained this in my Should Capcom Take a Break from Remakes video, but we'll get into that topic later. Since the RE engine has been introduced as the main engine for Resident Evil games, only one legacy character has gotten an updated model in that RE engine. It's Chris. We haven't seen a new version of Leon, Jill, Claire, or even Ada in their 40s. In the current timeline. We have not seen any of them since the RE engine has been introduced. So if you need to just let that stuff sink in, and if you do consider age within these characters, because they're all 40 plus years old now, these stories need to be concluded sooner rather than later. So if I did have to pick one person to basically headline it, I'd have to say Jill. It's just been way too long. And then if I had a second option, I probably would go with Claire, because she honestly has been a little bit like, I wouldn't say mistreated, but she's kind of like underused. Because the only necessarily not mainline game, but numbered title game where she was like a main character, it was 2.
Yeah.
Every other main game that she was like the main focus on was Code Veronica and Revelations 2. Pretty much almost spin-off titles. So I think Jill and Claire would specifically be good. They have their connections with Chris, and I think they would still keep in touch with them. But I do have to say my first pick is Jill, second is Claire, and then I'd save the other characters for something else. But that's my total assumption on who should headline Resident Evil 9.
Yeah. Yeah, they got to start bringing back some of these legacy characters. I did hear a crazy rumor, I think I've mentioned this to you before, Center, about Resident Evil 10. It's probably not true, but that it could be true worries me a little bit. Someone was mentioning that Resident Evil 10, they're going to use like all or most of the mainline characters, but like clear the board with them and either kill them off or retire them. And like, man, I hope that's not true. And then reboot the series after.
Yeah.
But yeah, what they do with Resident Evil 10 worries me a lot. Because I like these characters too, and I don't want to see them go away. But yeah, they are getting older. And I hope they don't just get forgotten. I hope we at least get games that, you know, give them a proper send-off.
Yeah, exactly. But to add a follow-up question into that RE9 topic, if they do focus on the bad BSAA plot, since we know that they are using BOWs to fight their wars now, who do you believe is behind the corruption of the BSAA, which is essentially who should be the main villain of Resident Evil 9?
It could be somebody new, in
100%.
which case we're not going to know. Obviously, I want to see Alex Wesker come back. That'd be really cool to see her worm her way into the BSAA.
Yeah. Just know it's not going to be in her body.
No, it'd be in Natalia's body.
Sadly, yeah.
Presumably, yeah.
100%.
That's what I thought Lady D was when Village first got announced. I was like, is that Natalia?
Yeah.
And there was just so many crazy rumors.
There were, yeah.
Yeah.
People were thinking.
I cut out again. So,
welcome back.
Yeah. I think, I don't know if you guys are honestly able to tell. I think I'm just going to immediately, as soon as I know about the cutout, I'm just going to text it into the Discord chat. So, unfortunately, War, if you did ramble on for a minute, I do apologize about that. I need to
that was Manny talking, actually.
Okay. So, what did you miss out on? Or what did I miss out on, at least?
So, pretty much, like, when the end of Village happened, like, I just assumed it was the company. Like, there was no one in particular that drove the, the whole corruption.
Yeah.
But if there's a villain, I think I need to see another, because I still think Wesker's the best villain of the entire franchise.
Yeah.
So I need to see like another, I think 9 should introduce, if they go that route. I think even just in general, like, whatever 9 turns out to be, the main villain needs to be like another Wesker, not Wesker clone, but like a Wesker level like threat. Like not just another like.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the running joke in this channel.
It needs to either be Alex Wesker or, I mean, if they want to really do something crazy, bring Wesker himself back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for my sake of who I would want to be, I think Alex could honestly be the perfect fit, because whenever I consider about these villains in RE9, and if it is about the BSA plot, they need to have their reasons to go after that entire thing. So I ended up making about a video talking about the multiple candidates that could work. I think Resident Evil Revelations 1, I think we all remember Raymond and Jessica. I think they could have their reasons to go after the BSA once again, because they could be mercenaries for hire. And we know that the Connection saga is still going on. We don't know who's really behind the dirty work with them. We don't know if it's this Brandon Bailey I was about to say creature, but we don't know if it's him. because apparently he's dead, but there is no way to confirm that he's actually alive or dead, actually. So we don't know if it's going to be him.
Who the heck's Brandon Bailey?
He's I think he's one of the students of James Marcus, I think.
Okay, I'm not familiar with
so
that name.
he's been in it with deep with Spencer, Marcus, and everyone. It's just that they were trying to exterminate everyone that knew about the the main plans that was going on, and apparently Brandon was killed, but there's no way to confirm it. But ever since that he founded the connections, there is a lot of rumors going around that he may be alive or he could have some part of it. The problem is we don't know what he looks like. That's one of the main problems with this guy, which could falter his case of being the main villain. But if I did have to pick one, I would say Alex Wesker. I would say Brandon Bailey would be second. The two Revelations characters that could come back, mercenaries for hire, they could be hired by the connections to do their dirty work. And another person that I think a lot of people don't know about that I will say is Maria Gomez. And the reason why I say that is because she was left on a cliffhanger with Resident Evil Vendetta. Her father died, Glenn died, she probably didn't even give a shit about him compared to her father. She was literally in the middle of plotting her revenge. She was literally just thinking about, what can I do to get them back? And who is the main villain that essentially killed Ares and her father? Chris. Where does he work? The BSAA. Does she know where the BSAA is? Yes. We saw her infiltrate that college campus that Rebecca was at, where the gas was spread. We saw her infiltrate that bar where she kidnapped Rebecca. So she has her way to infiltrate these areas. And she could do it with the BSAA. So she's one of the candidates as well. It's just that no one knows about her really that much.
A lot, yeah. I mean, hardcore fans who have watched the CGI stuff do. I think the only issue I see with that is I super doubt Capcom is going to elevate CGI characters to a game.
Yeah.
Just because there's not that built-in connection people know about them. But
Yeah.
they definitely need to tie that up in another CGI film.
Yeah, 100%. So, since we are, I guess we're all clear now about the RE9 topics.
Yeah.
So,
my main pick too, Alex Wesker.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Wesker. What about you? War?
Either bring Wesker himself back or probably more realistically Alex Wesker.
All right. So, next topic is, would you like to see Resident Evil Revelations 3 happen, and who should headline that game?
I'd like to see the rumors committed. I think Rebecca should.
Yeah.
Because last time we've seen her canonly was what? Vendetta?
Yep, right? 2014.
So, yeah. Just no reason in particular, just because it's a side game. So I'd rather see someone who's important, but not like main type important, like Chris, Jill,
Yeah.
So I'd probably say Rebecca.
Yeah.
It would make sense with the rumors. I mean, Rebecca's not my favorite character. I would rather see... I don't know. Rebecca and Billy would be cool if they reunited them, but I'd probably prefer to see Sheva come back, or honestly to see Ada get her own game.
Yeah. I feel like
Sheva would be a good pick too. Yeah. I didn't think about Sheva.
Yeah. I feel like she still has the opportunity to come back, because she is currently in that one-off category with Carlos and everyone.
And
but
Billy, yep.
I feel like the time is definitely running out since, I think Capcom needs to at least let us know about where is this series at, because it's been 8 years since 2 came out, close to 8 years, so I would like to see some sort of information revolving around that series, whether if it's in a showcase or anything else. So,
yeah, I agree.
My number one pick, it's 100% Rebecca. I want those rumors to fall through, and she only got RE0, so I think her being the main focus would be really, really cool with that college campus rumor and the RE5 Magini's. Maybe they could fix something up within the main enemies, who knows, but another person who I would actually like to see her be side by side with is somebody who has not been in a Revelations game yet, and I know this is really weird, because why the hell would you go with this guy to be a side character to someone like Rebecca? But I'm gonna go with Leon, because 1 featured Jill and Chris, 2 featured Claire, along with Barry. The only one of the main 4 that hasn't been in a Revelations game is Leon. And if Leon is in that game, you might as well package up Ada in there as well, because every single game that he's in, she's in. So I think if there were main 3 characters, I think Rebecca should be 1. There should be another story revolving around Leon. that connects with Rebecca, like Revelations 2. Well, mostly both of the games, and Ada being in the shadows kind of thing. But I don't know if I want those two to be teasing anymore. But that's just
Yeah.
my
I actually
ship
think
vibe
Ada
with
just
them.
needs her own game, period. Whether that's a Rev game or a mainline game, I don't know if it matters, but so I'd probably have to say Ada, but
Yeah.
Sheva's another strong pick for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I like to see where she is canonly now. Because in Village, she was supposed to be in Village, but they cut her out.
Yeah.
So I could see her definitely being in a Rev 3.
Yeah.
And Sheva was supposed to be in Vendetta, but they cut her out too. They couldn't make it work with the story.
Yeah. And I think they replaced her with Rebecca, right?
Rebecca / one of the BSAA ladies, whose name I don't remember. Oh, Nadia.
Nadia. Why does that not ring any bells?
She was the one who fired the giant laser in the helicopter at the end.
Which one and where?
Nadia in Vendetta.
Yeah.
Oh. So she was supposed to be in that kind of role though, but Rebecca filled it in.
Essentially BSAA role, yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. So, we're all good with the Rev 3 topic?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So this one, we're going to fall back to RE4 Remake. If the RE4 Remake gameplay is a perfect balance of action and horror, would you like to see that type of gameplay or balance implemented into Resident Evil 9?
Yeah, absolutely. Because my theory is 9's going to be third person. I can't see them. Because I know people are seeing 7, 8, and 9 as a trilogy. We don't entirely know that. I mean,
Yeah.
7 and 8 sold really well. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were just like, screw it. You guys can do it in the first part. I wouldn't mind because I don't mind either. But I know more people prefer third person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it depends only if 9's third person. And I don't know though, because my stance on the RE4 remake is however the gameplay, because we've seen a lot of the, you can stab while they're in the ground, you can, do your kick, you can pair, there's all these things you can do. I almost want RE4 to, like, just the way the combat is, like the remake, I want it to just kind of be its own thing, because it would kind of suck for like future remakes or future RE games to come out and they're copying exactly how the 4 remake plays, and it's going to make that game not feel as special. That's my stance on that.
Yeah.
But it depends, because there could be other like hidden mechanics that we don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, and stealth too. I forgot the 4 remakes having stealth is, they're gonna have stealth. Actual stealth where you can crouch around.
Yeah.
Yeah, the original 4 didn't really develop stealth a whole lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
thoughts?
think 7. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, it was just that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think 7, 8, and 9 are going to be a story trilogy. Mechanically, I guess I'd be surprised if 9 wasn't first person. I think it kind of tend to think it will be, but actually, and sorry, Senator, what was the question even? Oh, the action and horror blend.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be surprised if Remake even captures that perfect blend like the original did. I mean, no other Resident Evil game has managed to do it since, because it's such a lightning in the bottle, like, example of like near perfect game design. But if Remake somehow does manage to do it, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing that replicated again in RE9. Part of me worries that Capcom might learn the wrong lessons from RE8 and what fans really liked about it, because fans did really like House Beneviento, and I really hope Capcom doesn't try to blow that out to like a whole third or half of a game, because that's going to get really old if they try to do that. I think that type of like hardcore Bloober Team horror works well in a short burst, but
team and so
exactly.
Yeah, I could agree with that. It depends. My thoughts might change when the remake finally comes out, because like you said, I mean, the original 4, I mean, people, look, I'm just gonna say it here, I've said before, like, people have complained about the controls in RE4, the original. I always say, if you don't like the controls, you're just bad at the game. If you take the time to learn the game, you'll understand it, because anybody can. Anybody, if you take the time and if you have the patience, it's not that hard of a game to learn. Like the mechanics. I mean, if I learned it when I was 10 years old, I mean, I think a 30, 40, 50-year-old can, learn the game.
Yeah, I mean,
But
I managed to work with the controls when I was like 13, 14. So
yeah,
it's
like we were kids. It's like you got grown adults complaining about the controls. I'm like, I was a kid. Like, come on, I was on a blue PlayStation 2 controller.
but I kind of get it because everything is so Twitch based now. Like if I myself go back to the very originals, and I've played the very original Resident Evil, it does, like, to be fair, it does feel clunkier to me. I'd have to take the time to really put hours and hours into the original games to get used to it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, you can definitely, because even if you do get used to it, like you can definitely feel like even the people, like for me, like I think like the original, like I love the original take controls. I prefer the modern stuff, but the original, like I'm so used to it, but I can feel like, you can feel the clunkiness, especially in the original games. Like if you play the original PlayStation 1 versions, man, you can feel with the original PS1 controllers that you can feel the clunkiness.
Yeah, you can.
So I can
And
see that.
I mean, to be honest, Resident Evil 4 still had tank controls. They were just less tanky, right? They were more fluid.
Yeah.
But it
But
was
looking
really
at
like,
RE4 for its time, like 2005 when it released, like, it did so many things different and at the time was revolutionary.
yeah,
And so like I was saying, like with this remake, like it needs to kind of replicate the same thing. It needs these new controls, these new mechanics and whatnot, like need to feel fresh and new, not just like a Last of Us clone or, or like an Evil Within clone.
Yeah. But for my take on like the gameplay being implemented, I think this remake, I really do believe that they're going to expand on the combat. I think we did see a small taste with Leon deflecting the pitchfork with his knife, and I think it's really really cool to see that. And in terms of the QuickTime events, I'm glad that they're cutting out the cutscene QuickTime events and just sticking with the gameplay ones, because it makes sense for gameplay. Because if you're like, taking a break on the controller for a bit, you're watching a cutscene and then all of a sudden you see two buttons pop up and then you're dead, that would piss you off a lot.
Yeah.
People were taken by surprise then because it was pretty fresh and new, and it wasn't something people had really seen before, getting taken by surprise like that.
Yeah.
So back then it was considered game changing.
Yeah.
And it's why it got copied off a bunch by other games.
Yeah. I'm glad that it didn't do it too much, but the one that, like, we know RE6 took the cake with QuickTime events.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it just did it.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, but
4, I think, had just enough. Not too many.
Yeah.
But it had a few in there. I would honestly prefer to see them come back, but that's that, and along with other artifacts of the time, like breaking the game up into chapters, are just unfortunately not likely to come back.
Yeah, I do like the chapter. Yeah, I mean, they're probably gonna have the same formula as the remakes, but yeah, I forgot all about like the whole chapter system.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was either. There was just something, I don't know, something about it. Like, I don't know.
But I
it's
would
things like that. That's just like, like us OG fans. It's like I want to see that.
But I mean, there's definitely quality of life improvements. I'd like to see like chapter replay, which 5 introduced. Just basic stuff like subtitles, because RE4 was actually the last RE game without subtitles. There's lots of little technical improvements I'm expecting them to make, but I hope with like the new action stuff like the parry, and I hope they don't go overboard and it's just too actiony, but I don't know. I think Capcom at least somewhat knows what they're doing with it.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's implemented when it matters. Like I want to actually, this is gonna sound so corny, but I want to feel like Leon, like Batman. Like I don't know if you guys have played like the Batman Arkham games, where like their whole marketing is be the Batman, kind of like be Leon. Like you feel like Leon, where it's like if you were thrown into a village, you had combat training, and you have an entire village attacking you, you're not gonna be slow walking around. You're not like you're gonna you're gonna be kicking, you're gonna be stomping, you're gonna be stabbing, like that action heavy combat. Like I want that to I trust that they're gonna balance it right, where those action heavy moments are really gonna be action heavy, and then the really slow moments are gonna be like real, like perfect, where it's not like too action, not too horror, not too like Silent Hill where it's like super slow, that ruins the pacing.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope they just keep that really grimy tension the first game had. There wasn't, always tons of enemies on screen, but there was, the game was permeated with a real sense of tension. Something always could happen.
Especially the night sequences when it was raining. Like,
Yeah.
I hope. I mean, I'm hoping that's gonna be the remake. 'Cause I remember sequences like that where you bring Ashley back and you're back to the village and it's raining and you got the ambience and the Ganado screaming at you. Like things like that it adds so much to like the atmosphere and the
Yeah.
tension.
You know, now that you mentioned that specific part in the village, I feel like that's where the stealth mechanic is going to go into play.
Maybe.
Because sometimes, you know, like when you're walking around the village, you know, the villagers, they don't really fully see you. They're not full on sprinting. But if they do see you, if you run into them, then that's when they're going to go after you. They might have like this tendency to maybe walk around the village to just scout for you, since, you know, you have Ashley now and they're probably on the lookout. Maybe the stealth mechanic is going to be like the biggest factor in that village sequence. Sometimes you might see it in the island or castle, but specifically, I think that part of the village sequence, stealth is going to play a key factor until you get to that cabin boss fight with Luis.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard to tell from the trailer, but I'm really hoping in the early village they keep that grimy daytime horror.
Yeah.
RE4's did daytime horror better than most other movies or video games I've ever seen. Very unique for the time, and it's still kind of unique, just because it's such a hard thing to pull off. But watching the trailer, I can't really tell if it takes place during the day or if they're going to switch it to nighttime.
Yeah.
I hope they don't switch it to nighttime. I hope they keep that grimy, filthy, you know, overcast daytime vibe that the original had going on.
Even to this day, like I'll go outside and it'll be like the sky will just look very Resident Evil 4ish, and I'll always make that reference. Or if I'm out with a friend, even if they don't know, I mean, they always know what Resident Evil is, but like I'll be like, yeah, you play RE4? Like, yeah. Like, you remember this? And I'll make the reference. It's like, it's even like the sky in the original game is iconic to me. Like that whole look was so iconic. I remember when the trailer first came out, I said like, oh, they're gonna make it take place at, I'm sure there's gonna be night sections. I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think they are gonna keep it like the original, because I think that trailer, I think that's actually like 6 a.m., 7 a.m. type. Like
I hope
morning.
so, yeah.
Because I thought it was night. I thought like, oh, the sun's setting. I think it's the opposite. I think the sun's rising.
Right.
And like you said, the original RE4 did, you know, daytime horror. Like to me was perfect.
Yeah, and
because I'm like, you know, the whole visual style and art style was just, it complemented it so well.
But I do like that you mentioned real life stuff reminding you of RE4, because I'll be driving down back roads sometimes at night and I'll be like, damn, this really reminds me of RE4, especially the first road you drive down at the very beginning of the game. But yeah, RE4 actually very logically takes place over a single 24-hour period, so I hope roughly they keep that. I don't know if they'll add more darkness to the game, because once you go into the castle you don't really see that at all, so I don't know how they'll add more dark sections to the game. But
yeah,
so next topic.
Shoot.
Let's do it. After Resident Evil 4 Remake, should Capcom take a break from remakes or keep going?
Yes and no. I think yes or no, they shouldn't take a break if they're going to do Code Veronica.
Yeah.
But because they skipped Code Veronica, I'm skeptical they're ever going to do it, or at least not for a long time. So I say yes. I say don't continue on doing 5 or 6, because those games don't need it, and they're way too challenging to remake anyway.
Yeah.
Stole the words right out of my mouth. Same thing, yes or no. If it's Code Veronica, do it. If it's anything else,
I could see Outbreak doing re-envisioning Outbreak maybe.
Yeah, Outbreak. Code Veronica, definitely. Outbreak, maybe. Anything else, not really interested.
Yeah,
I personally would love to see like Umbrella and Darkside Chronicles at least remastered and re-released, but I don't know if too many people care about those games. I personally love them, but
yeah,
I would love to see like a 4 remake DLC of Operation Javier with Leon and Krauser.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
That'd be one of like the coolest things that you could do, because a lot of casual fans that will be going into 4 Remake, because there's going to be new fans playing this game, and they're going to be saying, who the hell is this, you know, Dolph Lundgren looking ass guy that's going to be like, you know, has this vendetta towards Leon. How the hell did he hate him so much? And I think if they can remake Operation Javier for specifically RE4 Remake, it's going to bring that closure, it's going to bring the backstory, and it's also going to be like, wow, they actually took their time to remake something like this, which is something that would be amazing fan service with. It would show you could flesh out the story of Krauser, even the Hidalgos and Manuela, Leon as well. Like basically, one of his very few first missions under the president, I think, or under the U.S. government. So
it was his first, yes.
Yeah. So I think if they could do that, that would be absolutely amazing. But to fall back onto the topic of which game should they remake if they, ever wanted to take a break, Code Veronica definitely for the fan service. I actually, hot take, I prefer Zero to be remade before Code Veronica. I think I'm gonna go into that later. But I think if you're not gonna remake Code Veronica, then 100% take your break. But if you're gonna do that, do it and then take your break, because we've gotten a lot of remakes compared to mainline games since the RE engine. So
I mean, yeah, Resident Evil's had more remade games than like any other franchise I could think of.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's just, I'm not saying that it's overdone, because I'm going to take it, it's new content for us, and it's, something new to experience as Resident Evil fans. So if they ever did want to, like, take that break from remakes, because we don't know where they're going to go after RE4 Remake. So we're just thinking, like, are they going to remake Code Veronica for the fan request, or are they just going to take a break and just, like, take 3-4 years off and then go back with Code Veronica, or are they just going to go straight up with 5? Because if they do go straight up with 5, you should have taken that break, because we know why you're doing the remakes then. You're clearly doing it for the money purposes. Especially if you're remaking 4 or 5 and then you might remake 6, because we know the top 5 most sold games in RE are those 3 specific games. They're in that top 5 section, so it's either Code Veronica, pretty much I'd say 2 years after RE4, but if not, I'd say take a break.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I think we need to finally get out of going back to Raccoon City. I think Capcom has gone back to that well so many times that I'm a little fatigued by just how many times they've revisited Raccoon City. And I know it's like their most popular scenario, but I think I think I want to see new scenarios.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think we're good to go with that topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next one is: do you think Capcom will make a brand new remake timeline if more remakes are announced? Like they're just going to remake almost every single game from mainline and possibly Revelations, something like that.
No, I don't see that happening. I think there's going to be a logical endpoint, and I kind of hope it's with 4, where remaking some of these newer games, they're going to wise up and say it's not necessary, because they're new enough, and it's technically very challenging to remake something like 5 and 6, which are both pretty big games in the RE engine. So I don't see them following all the way through, especially with Rev 1 and 2. I doubt Capcom cares enough about Rev 1 and 2 to redo those.
Yeah.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I think 4 is probably where it ends, unless they do Code Veronica, and then probably Code Veronica is where it ends. But I don't know, that's my thought.
Yeah, I'm hoping Code Veronica is where it ends, because even saying 5 and 6 is a stretch. Like, that is a big stretch.
Yeah.
So if they do that, I'd be surprised. But I don't know who's to say. But yeah, I'd say when it comes to at least like anything else outside of 5, let's just say theoretically they do 5 or 6. I think outside of that, I don't think they're gonna touch anything else.
Yeah.
But I think, like what Horace said, I think 4 should be the end point. But if they're gonna keep going, stop with Code Veronica.
Yeah.
Maybe stop with RE1 if they really want to do RE1, but it's like, at that point, when you get past 4, even Code Veronica, like that's when you're starting to stretch a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think they're gonna do like anything else. If anything, I'd rather just see remasters like Umbrella Corps, or not Umbrella. No, please, not Umbrella Corps. Umbrella Chronicles, Darkside Chronicles, and
5 and 6 genuinely need a remaster. Those games are getting to the point where they need to be remastered in 4K 60, and then as Blitz and I discovered, there's glitches in 6 that could be cleaned up.
Yeah.
But they don't need to be remade. Yeah, I don't really think they need to really like remake a whole completely new timeline, because I just think, of course, for the sales purposes, you might want to do that, but I just don't really see the reason, especially with on how many remakes or how much lack of mainline new stuff that we have gotten. Since,
I mean, that's the thing. It eats up resources when we could be seeing new stories for characters and we're not, It's perhaps part of the reason we haven't seen Rev 3 yet. And part of the reason it may not exist.
And that's another reason why I want closure to know, like, what's going on with the Revelation series, because I think it would be just a perfect, like, you know, series, or just to create a new spin-off series to, like, you know, fill in these plot holes that we have known about within this series this entire time. And I think it could be, like, I would necessarily say perfect timing after RE4 to just come out with Revelations 3 to just give us a game before RE9 instead of just, like, stepping into it. Because if you really want to take care of RE9, if this is, like, one of your most ambitious projects, which is a rumor, take your sweet ass time with it, please. So if you want to, like, give us Rev 3, then 100% just do that. But to fall back onto the main question about, you know, the remake timeline, I just don't see the reason to do it.
No, and canonically it's going to get tricky. Which timeline is going to be, you know, the correct one? I think officially Capcom has said both, but that's like trying to have your cake and eat it too. I don't know. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So I always thought that the remakes kind of papered over the canon of the originals, but I mean, who the hell knows other than Capcom?
All right. So the next question. I think we already did end up doing this though, but the next question was, which Resident Evil remake do you want to see after RE4R? And I think both of you guys say Code Veronica.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I guess this question is going to be for me, as selfish as that sounds, but I might as well do it since I didn't really touch on this topic. But I actually really want to see a Resident Evil 0 remake, mostly because I think if there is a way that you can perfectly take advantage of co-op horror in, like, a completely isolated area like the Umbrella training facility or even the train, RE0 could be, like, the perfect game to really, like, test the waters with that. And we know how well Resident Evil games have sold within the RE Engine era of things, so I think when people question that Code Veronica remake, could that sell? I mean, I know for a fact it would sell more than the original game. That's all I'm gonna say about that, but I think if you could just say an RE2 remake like atmosphere, like the RPD, but sub in the Umbrella training facility. You end up getting those abilities with Billy and Rebecca. Some of them were stupid, but some of them made the game stand out. If not the main standout feature of RE0, then, you know, do that. But I know
you did cut out for a minute.
Oh, I did cut out?
Yeah, you cut out for like a minute.
Oh, shit. Okay, so I guess, did OBS disconnect again? I would be so upset if that was the case. But,
I didn't see that.
Where did the last time that you guys heard me?
Something about it being a good co-op experience.
Yeah, so imagine the atmosphere of RE2 Remake and replace the RPD with the Umbrella training facility, and then you get some similar inventory management to RE2 Remake. It could really thrive off of that game. And if you just implement that with co-op and you make it just as scary as you could possibly can, especially with the abilities and disabilities of both characters, it could work extremely well. And, you know, series, like, it's selling a lot of good products. Like, we're averaging over 5 million sales per game within the RE Engine era aspect of things. The weakest being RE3 Remake, unfortunately. But I just think Zero could be... It could just be one of those games that could test the waters for maybe, just maybe, an RE5 Remake. I don't want it, but if I had to pick a game that could involve the co-op feature, I'm taking RE0. And I think the game was really bad. Like, originally I hated the game. I didn't even want to touch it, but I was just like, okay, maybe I'm just gonna finish this. And then I realized it's not really, I like Billy and Rebecca. It's just the gameplay features, they kind of, like, rub me the wrong way, I should say, because it just felt so weird. And it was, you know, a very polarizing game. It's easily, that and Code Veronica is probably the most polarizing fixed camera games. And I think, you know, if you can create a really great atmosphere with the training facility, the train, and other areas, then I would be fully on board with an RE0 remake with the co-op features and, you know, keeping the key features of the original RE0 game, like no item box, you know, to stay in the game, no matter how polarizing it is. But yeah, RE0 remake would be something that I would just be like, I'm happy about that. I think I would like to see Rebecca in the RE Engine and Billy and everyone, and maybe to even flesh out more on Marcus, because what makes you want to summon leeches by saying opera? Like, come on, man.
That's such a weird, goofy villain.
Like, I'm just like, the first thing that came out, like, did you guys ever watch the Saturday Night Live stuff with Adam Sandler?
No.
Yeah, there was like a parody where he was playing like this opera guy and everything, and it immediately reminded me of that. And I was just like, oh my gosh, man, like, why opera of all things? Like, sure, it may be cool a little bit though, but it's kind of like, I wouldn't even want to say corny, but it's kind of like, you know, off.
It's like I'm watching a Resident Evil play instead of actually playing the game.
Yeah, My Hero
Watch like a
musical.
stage show.
Yeah,
yeah,
so
musical. That's what it's called.
maybe there could be a better way with that, and then Birkin and Wesker will appear as well, and then maybe they could touch on a little bit more about Marcus's actual death. So, yeah, a Zero remake would be something that I would love to see in the future.
I'd actually agree with that. I'd agree with that too, because RE1, like I said, that'd be cool for that to get a remake. Do I want it? Not really. But like, would I buy it and take it and play it? Like, of course. Same with RE0. But RE1, like most people consider that like perfect. I do too. I consider the remake, the RE1 remake, better than the original. Like,
Yeah,
first remake is just so good in every way. But RE0, on the other hand, as much as I liked RE0, I could see like all of the flaws that it has, and I think it would benefit 1,000 times more, from a remake.
Yeah.
Over RE1.
Yeah, especially
like you said, it's one of the most polarizing. So I could definitely see that.
Yeah. So, you guys don't want to add anything about Code Veronica?
I mean, I think it's, other than it's a little tricky to remake, and just due to some of the thematic content and really weird storyline stuff, I don't know if Capcom is going to want to touch it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's why they skipped it in favor of 4, if 4 was kind of a branding, marketing play.
Yeah.
Just the name recognition, but I mean, I want to see it, and I'm not going to complain if we get remakes of 1 or 0 either. But yeah, it's still a little skeptical.
It's one of those, like, am I begging for it? Nah. But would I take it? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. But moving on to the next question. Should there be a quote-unquote next generation of Resident Evil characters after the OG stories are complete, or should the series just completely fall flat?
I like what, I think it was the person who donated earlier.
Yeah.
He said that he would like to see, like, self-contained stories. I think I agree with that. I think after, like, these OG characters, like, they kind of wrap them up, because they don't need to die. You can retire them, you can anything can happen. Just wrap them up in some way.
Yeah.
And so, like, after that, I would like to see, like, self-contained stories where instead of, like, getting a Resident Evil 11, we get, like, a Resident Evil and then, like, a codename, or like a Resident Evil Village type game.
Yeah.
But it's, like, self-contained. Like, it's not like it's gonna leave on a cliffhanger, or it's gonna hint like a sequel. It's just like beginning, middle, end, conclude that entire story in that one game.
I mean, yeah, that's really what 6 did. Basically, 6 was like kind of an epilogue to the end of 5 and everything. But I think without a big bad and a big overarching storyline, that's kind of what you got to do. But I would prefer to see these self-contained stories feature the legacy characters, and if you are going to write them off, do it properly with their own game.
Yeah, don't make it lazy, please.
Yeah. In terms of like characters that I want to see, I think one thing that RE6 did really good was to bring Sherry back. I just thought that was really, really cool. In terms of other characters, I would say maybe Rebecca can be like, that wise veteran, that could be involved in like those journeys. Like Revelations 3 could be a thing, and you never know, they could bring back other characters like Sherry, other guys as well. I don't know about Billy, because I think he's off the deep end. I don't know if he's in the wilderness just like, hunting animals and living his life that way, because if people or any type of government in the US that saw him and knew about his identity, they would probably kill him, because he's still out there. But even though he is dead, we know he's not, but you never know, he honestly could be. But if there was a way for him to come back to be like, this old guy, then I'd be cool with that. Sherry, Natalia could be a villain that could extend, but also her story, or should I say Alex, could cap off at RE9. Sheva could be a part of that conversation as well. Rose, on the other hand, that's the interesting part that I'm like really mixed out on, because I don't know if her story is officially done. That like she could be like a side character, but the main focus should not be on her, since her story is kind of wrapped up in a way. But since we know that she's involved with the BSA, still in the Hound Wolf squad, then I mean, if they ever do go back to that time skip with Rose, then I'd be fine with it. But make sure that the game is good at least, and not just full of superpowers and all that. other stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, uh, yeah, I
Yeah,
would
I mean,
like some other characters in there, but there's clearly
Yeah.
one guy I'm not mentioning that does not exist in the Resident Evil timeline, but we're just gonna move on from that.
Yeah, you don't talk about him.
Yeah, we're not talking about him. We're putting this guy's name is not the name that is his real name. His name is him in caps. That's it. Nothing else.
Yeah, just him.
Yeah, just that. Leave it at that. If you mention him, anybody in the chat that mentions him, we're gonna have a problem. I'm just kidding, but yeah.
But, going back to the next generation of characters, I mean, Capcom actually has to put in the work to create those new characters, because really all they have right now is Rose.
Yeah, and Sherry.
Yeah, that's true. Sherry's immortal, so they can use her forever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think people are just gonna not ever find it as compelling as the legacy characters, but I mean, you can't use them forever. I mean, maybe 10 more years you can use them.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's tricky because Resident Evil does not have a floating timeline. It treats time like it happens in real life, so you're stuck with characters aging.
Yeah.
Kind of something that sucks about it, but
Yeah.
But I'm assuming we're good on that.
Yeah, just
All right.
it'd be crazy to see where the franchise goes in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Who knows, and go in any direction.
Yeah, it'd be quite interesting. It'd be one of the most, wouldn't it be nearly one of the most long-running franchises in like gaming history almost? Or is it an already?
I mean, there's some that'll be longer always, like Mario and Zelda, but yeah, it'll be pretty long.
Yeah. So this is gonna be the final question. Unfortunately, our boy MMDVG could not make it, sadly.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
But yeah, he had to do his business, and we support him on that. But
yeah, we'll try to get another
Yeah.
podcast going here, maybe in a couple of weeks with another topic.
maybe like a demo review or like cool gameplay features for RE4 if that thing ever comes out. Let's just hope that it's in either February or March.
Yeah, I mean the demo has to actually come out. But...
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
All right, last question. Would you like to see zombies return in a new mainline Resident Evil game? Since we haven't gotten them since RE6.
So obviously you don't consider the molded or the lichens to be zombies.
Basically the brain dead humans.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I don't think it would hurt.
Yeah.
I think Rev 3 would be a good opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm not like I don't think the series is like gonna hurt if they don't come back either.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I'd say yeah. Like you said, it wouldn't hurt if they did come back. If they didn't. But if I had like a preference, yeah, I mean, I'd like to see them. Just no lichens or zombies with swords. Like I don't want to see nothing crazy like that. Just straight up brain dead zombies like we saw in RE1, 2,
Yeah.
and 3. Just simple zombies. Like that'd be cool.
Someone said in the chat, have running zombies. I think we've seen that kind of with RE6.
Yeah.
Which movie had the running zombies? Wasn't it 28 Days or Weeks Later?
Yeah, that did. It was I Am Legend. Had
Oh
them,
yeah, that too.
actually.
Resident Evil 6, cause
You cut out again.
Yeah.
great.
Last minute. At the it ended at the very start of what you're about to say.
God damn it. Oh man, okay. 100% switching to Streamlabs after this, but I think it doesn't really hurt at all. I 100% agree with that. If they did ever come back, and if let's just say one of the legacy, I thought that was a really cool touch. The only
you
thing
got
I
cut out again.
Oh my gosh.
Last
Literally.
30 seconds again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on a second. I gotta check my OBS thing. Yeah, I'm either updating this or switching. But if they can bring the zombies back, are we still good?
Yeah.
We're good. Yeah.
Okay, but if they can bring them back and bring them at their strongest abilities, then I'm 100% sold on it. They made, the regular zombies with the G virus, made them really scary. I think they can do it again with a brand new character if they ever install him into the series or her. I think the last time that we saw them canonically was in Vendetta with the A virus zombies. I really liked the feature of them being able to be controlled in a way, but the only problem I really had against it was the freaking cure. That you eat half of a human
Yeah.
being and then the cure happens and then you're totally fine after just eating someone. You
Yeah,
know?
that was like never the point of zombies, period. Like the whole
Yeah.
point of zombies is you get bit, that's it, you're done. Like that's the horror of it, right? You become like them and there's no going back. So yeah, I agree. That was kind of
Yeah, it should never be like you get bit and it's like, oh, there's a cure, there's a chance. It's like, no, you get bit, that's it.
yeah.
Like Walking Dead style, you get bit, like that was traumatic. Like, oh, like, this is
Yeah.
it. There is no chance.
Yeah.
I mean, Resident Evil's toyed with like serums and cures in the past, but like I don't know, Vendetta went all in with it.
I wouldn't have
Vendetta
a
was
problem.
something.
Yeah. I wouldn't have a problem if they didn't come back, because, I mean, like, could you say that we have progressed past the need for zombies? I could
I
say
don't know,
that.
we went all the way from zombies to werewolves somehow.
Next thing you know, we might be dealing with ghosts, so you just never know.
No, that's
Or maybe
okay.
they
That's
might fall
one
back.
direction I don't think the series should ever take. Is ever be
Yeah.
supernatural. There always needs to be a scientific, like, rational explanation for things. Like I don't want Silent Hill in my Resident Evil.
Yeah, I'll do hallucinations, but
Yeah,
sprinkle
that's
them
fine.
in. Don't make it the whole game. Yeah, here's Resident Evil 12, all hallucinations. It's like, please don't.
Even in Village, I mean, the hallucination had a real scientific explanation. It was this herb that caused it.
Yeah.
So as long as they keep it along those lines, I think they'll be good.
What were your we know that these are pretty much fake now, but when you initially heard of the Wendigos about being a thing in Resident Evil 9 with the 9th moon phase or whatever, what were your initial thoughts on that?
Again, if like, oh, go ahead, Manny.
Oh, go ahead. You go first.
So I thought, again, like if they keep a scientific, rational explanation for them, and they're just like getting inspired by folklore, then that's cool. Because I actually really like folk horror. If they actually switch the series to be supernatural with no scientific explanation, that's when I'm like, I'm probably tapping out, like losing interest in the series. Then, if they jump the shark like that, but I'm like, I'd be okay with it if again they keep it somewhat grounded.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I want to be able to play a Resident Evil game and feel like, okay, a group of scientists or a team or a corporation was in some secret lab and they developed this, not it just came out of nowhere. Like it's just, like there's no explanation, no scientific reasoning. It's just happened. Like, I mean, look, this is a stretch. This is just a stretch. Do I want to see it? Probably not. I mean, I say not until it happens, and maybe it's cool, but like if they do something crazy, like if you look at the moon, or like the moon has an effect and turns people into zombies, or just something crazy. It's like if you're gonna do something crazy, knowing Capcom especially, have it where like, it's like Dead Space, like, oh, the moon's actually a lab in itself, and it's like, but it's like at that point, knowing Capcom, they take Resident Evil to space, and I don't know if I want that. Like,
I also don't think it needs
You
to
might
go
as
to
well
space.
you might as well make Dead Space 4.
right
Yeah.
at that point, like it's too
But
much.
I also wouldn't mind a virus that has extraterrestrial origins, like it comes in on an asteroid or something, lands on Earth.
Yeah,
That could work. But
like you said, it needs to be grounded.
Yeah.
Don't go full on in space like Dead Space 4 type. Type B. Just keep it grounded.
But
Asteroid crashes, scientists come in, they get greedy, they do it for research. Something more grounded, more Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the Rev 1's virus was found at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah. I love Rev 1's aesthetic, the whole being on the boat in the ocean. That was cool.
I actually like Rev 2 a little bit better for some reason. I love the forest horror, which is really a setting the series unfortunately hasn't explored nearly enough.
True.
Yeah, now that you mentioned that forest, because I was going to bring it up as well, was that Wendigos could really thrive on that. Like, just imagine you're in a dark, isolated forest and you're looking for shelter, which is like, this little save cabin or something like that, and then Wendigos and maybe skinwalkers, they're lurking and watching you and everything like that, and they're infected with like some sort of virus or whatever type of like, disease it is, then I think that would be really, really cool. It could be like, I wouldn't necessarily say it would be a mainline game, but more of an experimental game, because it's not bad to experiment, but
no.
Yeah. There is like a few like questions involved in that stuff, but I feel like it would be something that would intrigue me enough to at least say, okay, I'd like to see a Resident Evil game talking about that stuff. But
The potential is crazy because in my mind, I'm thinking, imagine going through like a Wendigo forest and like you have the weather effects and it's like storming and raining. You have all the leaves rustling, so you can't even hear anything.
yeah,
Like the tension, like the weather, like there's so much technologically that they could do.
like
Like,
and just natural fears of a human being. You wouldn't want to be in the dark, isolated in a forest all alone. Like
yeah,
if it's
no,
just
nobody
natural
would.
like that. So to know that like an experience like that in real life is like scary as hell. We know that zombies were like, if we saw like a zombie outbreak, we'd be scared as hell as well. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think if we're just talking about slow paced, you know, looking like your eyes are moving like at 1,000 miles per hour, wondering what's like at behind this tree, what's lying beneath or whatever. I think a forest vibe or themed Resident Evil game that involves that slow paced horror atmosphere, I think it would be really good.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
MM and I were talking about that earlier about a snowy landscape in the forest. Oh, and there he is. Hey,
Yo.
MM.
Oh my goodness, you just, oh, that's so, damn it.
What happened?
You missed
We
it.
just passed the last question in the podcast.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's so
Shame.
unfortunate. But do you want to
let's-
get any thoughts off for the future of the Resident Evil series?
Yeah, just generally, let's hear what you
Yeah.
have to think about where the future, where the franchise is headed.
Honestly, I'm thinking with the future, I kind of want less Chris involved. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like Chris has kind of shoehorned his way in to be like the main guy in the series, and I want Chris to be less involved and more like characters that we rarely see now. Like more, like I said in the tweet, like I want more Claire, I want Jill, like maybe Sherry comes back. You know what I'm saying? Like just more other like there's so many other characters that could show up, but I feel like we've just been seeing so much Chris lately, and it's kind of gotten to the point of like, all right, we get it, Chris is involved, but so is so many other people. Like how's Jill doing? Like Jill had to serve like Wesker basically for like years of her life. Like how she's doing after that. You know what I'm saying? Like how's maybe Sheva, like Sheva could come back. Like I just hope that they learn to incorporate more characters in like a big. I want them all to come together in like a big setting. So because I feel like the next Resident Evil could be like the send off since all of them are like getting old anyways.
Yeah, that's some really good thoughts.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on the future of the remakes aspect of things? Like, would you want to see any more remakes after RE4 Remake, or just like take a break?
I would say do RE4 and then Code Veronica, and then after that, like you can just take a break. I still feel like Resident Evil 5 doesn't need a remake
I
for
agree.
what it is.
I agree.
I strongly agree. I just think it needs to be Resident Evil 4, Code Veronica, and then that's it. Like there doesn't need to be like any more.
Yeah.
Unless they remake 6. I'll be
Oh,
down with
Lord.
that. Skip over 5, just go to 6 and be like, all right,
Yeah, right.
this is the apology game for you guys. But other than that, just keep it 4 and then maybe Code Veronica and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, I was honestly on board with a Resident Evil 0 remake, like I was mentioning, but another
Oh,
question.
same.
Yeah. Do you want to see Revelations 3 to happen, and who should mainline that game specifically?
I don't know. Like, I think Revelations ended with one of the Wesker children got away, right?
Yeah, Alex.
Yeah.
And she had her consciousness transferred into a little kid's body named Natalia.
Natalia.
Yeah.
Honestly, they could probably keep like, you know, Barry's like family going with that. That would be a cool thing. Like Barry's daughter coming back and then she kills Alex. Like that could be like the big trilogy. Like cuz Alex if she's still around, that could be a problem. Or unless they make Alex like the big bad for the like main installment of Resident Evil.
Yeah, because we were
Yeah,
thinking
talking
about
that.
for Resident Evil 9 main villains, all of us were favoring Alex Wesker to do that stuff. But I mean, if they ever did like do a Revelations 3, then if she did return in that to like cap off a trilogy for that series, then I'm fine with it. I mean, I think Moira could return, But she's a really hated character because like I'm assuming it's because of her cursing a lot, but we've already seen it
she's
before.
like a young millennial character.
Yeah, and I mean, we're kind of like getting used to the swear words now with the remakes and even Village and everything, so I mean, why not, personally? And I think it could really like just cut deep into her that she's about to kill who she thought was like a little sister to her. Like, is Natalia gonna die with Wesker as well? So that is a good like thing to talk about. Let's see, what's another question? Do you want to see a next generation of Resident Evil characters after the OG stories are done?
Yeah, I feel like we was talking about like Moira. I think Moira could be cool. Sherry's a little older, but like she could be like one of the OGs now. Like I want new characters. I want like the young characters to grow up and like you start playing as them. Like it would be cool. Like Ashley Graham, like she decided to fight BOWs after like Leon rescued her. Like years like she gets inspired to do that. Like she picks up the mantle behind Leon. You know what I'm saying? Like there's
Cool,
like there's so many characters that we meet that we never really get to fully like play as because they're kids or they're too young or like we're saving them. And I feel like if those characters can get inspired and then do their own thing, that could be like the next generation. Like we got even Rose Winters. Like I wish they didn't really. I wish Rose Winters probably aged up like the Metamycete aged her up like automatically, but like whatever. Like there's so many new characters that we can that there could be plenty of stories on, and I feel like this generation now is like everybody's getting old. Like Chris is in his 50s, Leon's in his 50s. You know what I'm saying? Like they're all getting old. Like so there has to be that next generation.
Yeah, I 100%.
Leon can't be 75 doing somersaults still. Like there has to be something else. You know what I'm saying?
And still chasing Ada.
Yeah, exactly. Leon and Ada just need a maybe Leon and Ada's kid. They team up with Rose.
Yeah, that's like I apologize to cut you off though, but like one of my headcanons is like this little thing that you come up with your mind in like the Resident Evil timeline. I think that they actually have a kid right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would agree
could
with
see
that.
it.
They probably do.
Yeah, I think that would be really, really cool. Let's see, what could be another question that we could ask you? Would you like to see zombies return in a new mainline game?
Yeah, of course. I feel like there needs to like when I was talking to War about like the snowy town, I was saying like maybe they could deal with like the zombies, but the zombies are like changed with the weather. Like the zombies like half frozen, like they're decaying is kind of slowed down because they're frozen. It's like those winter walkers from fucking Game of Thrones or whatever they're called. Zombies, but like they change with the environment and shit like that. Like I'd want to see a nice spin on the zombies.
Yeah, I think unfortunately zombies are probably one of the least scary
Yeah.
enemies in the franchise. I think some of the BOWs, like regenerators or Glasps or things like that, or spiders, are just a lot scarier.
I genuinely hate those things in Revelations too, man. I genuinely hate those things. Like I just don't know where they are.
Invisible
I don't
enemies.
know. I can't stand that. Like I don't know where they are, and then once you get close to them, then their screen just turns like you're on drugs, I guess. And then all of a sudden they just one hit kill you, or basically just suck. It's
always
in.
a one hit kill.
It's just they creep the hell out of me, man. So I would never want to see those things come back. If they ever did, then I'm just hand the controller to someone else.
It's just hard to make zombies scary now. Like we've been dealing with zombies in every like mainline media for like 30 plus years at this moment.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's hard to make them scary.
Yeah.
At this point, like if you're gonna do zombies, do World War Z style, but even that's like outlandish and crazy. But it's like you can't just have fodder enemies and then expect them to be scary. Like you'd have to have some like World War Z style where they're climbing walls. Like please, like I mean I can't lie, that'd be kind of cool to see that in the game, but that's just like the level you'd have to go for me to be scared.
Yeah.
Reminds me of something Shinji Mikami said in an interview a while. That's basically why a lot of these games are moving away from typical enemies like zombies and moving toward quiet psychological horror. It's just hard for stuff like zombies to be scary anymore.
Yeah.
Like you would have to humanize zombies to make them scary. Like you're getting attacked by a zombie and you hear him like yelling like "help me" or something, or like something like that's unlike, like that's kind of uncanny. Like that would be kind of scary. It's like, oh fuck, like this guy's not in control of himself. He's like yelling out, "Help me!" Or you hear them like
Um,
screaming out in pain, like something like they did in Left 4 Dead. Like you can hear them like crying out and shit like that. Like,
I will
but
Even
other
say,
than
in
that,
Rev
Rev
1.
1 did that. Yeah, the comms.
Yeah, the chain. Yeah.
yeah,
And that was creepy as hell. That was the scariest thing in that game. So yeah, you're probably onto something there.
Yeah. So
I played that when I was a kid. When that game first came out, I was terrified.
Yeah,
I was
that
like, what
was.
is that? I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
see?
an officer. Whoa, we have, more survivors. And he busts open the door, and I'm like, yeah, nah.
all right. So last question to cap off this episode of the podcast. Mark, I guess am I allowed to call you by your first name?
yeah.
Yeah. So what's your expectations for Resident Evil 4 Remake?
I'm gonna come. That's it. It's gonna blow my socks off, and I'm gonna come everywhere.
Oh man. Whenever I edit this into a video, I'm gonna make sure to cap it off with that.
That's crazy.
Oh, man. But yeah, I guess that's your final thoughts on everything that we have discussed so far, everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. I mean, I could talk about RE4 forever, but I
Tell
think
me.
we'll have to do another podcast with a different topic.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
If there is a demo type of thing that comes out within the next 1 or 2 months, then I think we could review it. We could, talk about the atmosphere, the enemies, and everything. Like we could full on experience that. But yeah,
Do
that's
like a
gonna.
podcast live breakdown.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna try and consistently try to at least do a little more than this, though. But I thought
Yeah,
this
I
was
know.
a really, really
MM,
good
you
discussion.
mentioned doing this like once a week. I don't know if we have enough questions or material for that, but
Yeah.
we can.
Once
definitely
every
try-
other week, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
two times a month. Like
Yeah, that's
once every
a
2 weeks.
yeah, that's better to shoot for.
Yeah, something like that. But I guess we are going to wrap it up now, guys. Thank you everyone that joined in on this podcast episode. Thank you everyone for chatting and getting along with us. Thank
Yeah,
you
for sure.
to I believe Pulp was his name for the donation as well. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Manny, Rapid Crafter, MMDVG, Mark, and War on Horror for stopping by and
Yep.
doing this podcast with me. I
Of
think
course.
this is definitely something that we should embark on in the near future. If any other news or updates come along with Resident Evil. Oh, and
Yeah,
also,
and-
actually, one more question for Mark. How was Dead Space Remake?
That shit is fucking amazing. That shit is scary as hell. I almost pissed my pants a couple of times. Yeah, that shit is horror. Like that shit is actually legitimate. There's few games that actually scare me nowadays because I'm so like I've played so many horror games. So you know when you're kind of just numb to like scares and shit like that. But that game legitimately like brings back that feeling I got when I'm like 8 years old or 10 years old when I was first played like the first one and I was just too scared to go into certain rooms and shit. Like if you guys don't have that game, I recommend go buying it or watch me play it on my live streams. You know what I'm saying, MMDVG?
Yeah, go do that, y'all.
Yeah, for
Go
sure,
do that.
for sure.
Or just watch me play it. Like it's fucking amazing. I promise y'all, like that game, they knocked that out of the park, and that's why I'm more excited for Resident Evil 4 Remake because I know Capcom is also gonna knock it out of the fucking park.
Yeah.
Might be the
Yeah,
year
I
of
got
remakes,
faith.
man, because Silent Hill 2 Remake could be coming out this year as well. So the year of
Oh,
remakes
hell
for
yeah.
horror games could
Yeah,
be
I-
like,
yeah.
they could take over. You never
Yeah.
know.
I actually
But,
think we're not going to see that till 2024, but it's going to be good when it comes out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited.
You cut off, man.
Yeah, well, me specifically, I gotta, change that up or either get a better PC, but that'll happen in the near future. But yeah, that's gonna be it. Thank you guys once again. I hope everyone has themselves a good day, good night, and a good sleep. And I'll see you guys in either the next stream or my next video. Be sure to check out everyone else's channels as well, MMDVG and Rapid Crafter. They're great RE YouTubers, and they do their best to entertain us. So be sure to check them out, and I'll see you guys in my next stream. Peace out, and much love.
Take care, chat. Have a good night.
Take care, guys.
Peace.